there, I'm Sarah Dobson, Managing Editor of Canadian HR Reporter, and today we're speaking with Tonya Moncrieffe, who is the Director of Human Resources at Conagra Brands. Tonya is responsible for leading the HR division for the international businesses in Canada and global markets. So welcome, Tonya.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Glad to be here.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to hearing all about your career and what you have going. So first off, I always like to ask people, can you tell me why you decided to pursue a career in HR?
Absolutely. So it started with my high school teacher, actually. So his wife was in HR. And at the time when I was exploring the idea, he arranged a connect between the two of us. And from there, I was able to get a flavor for a day in the life of, a realistic job preview of what an HR professional in a particular space looked like. And from there, I just went on to pursue my master's in human resources. And then shortly after, the rest is history. But definitely gained that interest from getting that sort of on the job, realistic job preview.
Interesting. Okay, I've never heard that one from high school and a teacher. That's great. Well, can you talk a bit about your move to Conagra? You previously worked at Hydro One, obviously a different industry. So what prompted that change?
One of the things that interested me about Conagra was, 100-plus-year-old company with the mindset of a startup. So that's something that intrigued me, as well as the culture. So very innovative, people-oriented, agile, all of those pieces that are important for me. Throughout my career, I've had exposure in a number of different industries, but what prompted me to apply and sort of land with Conagra is through the connects that I've had with people and folks, and really their deep-rooted commitment to an inclusive culture. So that was very important in my decision.
Well, speaking of culture, I know you've got an award-winning one there. So can you talk about some of the ways you and your team work to have an inclusive, fun, engaging, and collaborative culture?
Absolutely. So we were recently recognized as one of Greater Toronto's top employers. And through that, recognition in terms of our supportive work environment, very inclusive, ways in which that we have fun. We have a number of ERGs, so employee resource groups, throughout the year. Also, a number of volunteer activities and initiatives where we reach out to our local communities, very high impact, as it relates to our support for food insecurity. So one of the things that we do to keep things alive and the culture alive is through some of those initiatives. And they've been very high impact and well received by our employee population. And there's a strong passion for, giving back to the communities in which we serve.
Right. That's great. Well, I'm curious how you balance, and I'm sure a lot of employers struggle with this, performance-driven cultures with employee well-being.
Part of that, I would say, is attributed to our strong hybrid model. So I think that's something else that helps balance both a performance-driven culture as well as the employee well-being piece from a flexibility perspective. It's something that our employees absolutely crave, and it's something that that's very well received. So I think there's the driving the accountability piece, but then the flexibility to allow for the personal pieces to take place is very important. And I think that we do it very well. And I think we continue to hear it through our listening tools that it's working very well for us.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask on that. I mean, speaking of going well, how do you actually measure the success of the strength of your culture?
Yes, no, great question. So through that, one of our employee listening tools is our engagement survey. So a place and a forum for our employees to be very candid about their experience of the organization, how things are going and trending. And so we operate and sort of run those on a quarterly basis. And we've now moved to twice per fiscal. But through those channels, we're able to obtain a pulse on how our employees are thinking and feeling as it relates to the overall culture. So definitely a strong metric that we look to help support our people initiatives.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, and going back to the flexible hybrid workforce, How do you handle some of the pros and cons of that? We've heard, a lot of employers are still struggling with how to handle that and issues around perhaps inequality, et cetera, productivity, accountability. So how have you figured that out?
Yeah, I think you touched on that point, Sarah. It's the piece around accountability and productivity. So really measuring output, right? And so in terms of that, we found that the hybrid model works well for us and is very well received positively by employees. And it truly is that balance, right? In terms of looking at output, but then also creating a space where employees have the opportunity to flex their working styles based on sort of the needs, their personal needs and the needs of the workforce. And it's worked tremendously well for us. So I do think there are definitely more upside to it that we've seen with our organization.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, of course, leadership is a big part of that. How has management adapted and been supported with the flexible approach?
Absolutely. So even with that, I would say management is well equipped to help support our hybrid model and encourages and sees the benefits of it as well. They see the benefits in productivity, in the output that they receive from employees who are engaged, and they also see it from a retention perspective as well, because they do acknowledge that as sort of the needs of the diverse workforce changes, that people have that strong desire for flexibility. And this hybrid model is something that I think is a key strength and has been working well for us and Conagra. So I definitely would say that that's something that we feel very strongly about and leadership is very supportive of as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. And I should have asked at the beginning, just curious, what's the size of your employee population in Canada and your HR team?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So in Canada, we're approximately 160 in our head office at Mississauga, and then about 400 split between our plants in Beaubriant and Dresden. And then the size of our current HR Canada team is a team of 5.
Okay. And globally, how many does Conagra have?
Approximately 19,000.
19,000. Okay. How do you manage as, a Canadian entity in a global company? How do you handle those relationships in HR?
Absolutely. I think the main piece is, keeping the lines of communication open, collaboration, and sharing best practices. I think that definitely helps to build not only a strong employee culture, but a strong HR culture as well. So absolutely, I'm in touch with my colleagues regularly on, sort of best practices, leaning in where necessary to ensure that we're creating sort of the appropriate level of support for our employee population. So that really helps.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing your insights and sitting down with us today. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And for more great videos, be sure to check out hrreporter.com.